Welcome to Sex and Breakfast, the sexy way to start your day. Dishing out sexpert advice and spicy insights about sex, love, and everything in between. Hosted by sex coaches and therapists from around the globe.
Hi, everyone. Hi, listeners. We are here to chat about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, which is long-distance relationships. So long-distance relationships, or LDRs, are a very common experience in our world and in my private practice as a sex coach. And the reason why it's such a special topic of mine is because once upon a time when I was doing my research, I decided to focus on healthy sexuality within the military relationships structure. And within the military, there's a military resiliency training framework that supports couples, but lo and behold, there was some missing aspects, in my opinion, where these programs didn't really address sex and sexuality and intimacy on a level that would have been really helpful. So throughout that work, I developed a way to address that in the military relationship, but I realized so much of it could be applied to any long distance relationship, whether it's short term, long term, unexpected, expected, you name it, because there's certain phases that all couples go through as a part of a long distance relationship. And it's one of my favorite things to chat about. So I'd love to bring in you all into the conversation with a few guiding questions about long distance relationships. So, my first question is, who sees clients in long distance relationships? LDRs, maybe we'll start saying for short because it's a mouthful. But I'm curious who would like to share their experience working with LDRs and if they themselves have lived experience about an LDR.
Well, Norlin, this is Nicole, and I haven't had a ton of clients specifically in LDRs, but I have a lot of experience in my own personal life. Outside of being a sex coach, I am a private flight attendant, and I've been flying for uh, 15 years. And so, pretty much both of my longest relationships, I'm in a 8-year relationship right now, and before that I was in another 8-year relationship. Oh my gosh, the eight. But they were both long distance relationships in the aspect that I travel for a living, so I'm gone a lot. And
Wow.
so in my personal life, I've been in long distance relationships for the last 15 years.
Wow. And you've been able to be one of the most resource types of people, at least in the most recent years, because you're a certified sex coach. And imagine, or can you imagine, going through a long distance relationship without having the tools that you have in your pocket?
No, I can't even imagine someone trying to navigate sexuality with someone that they're not physically with all the time. So it is, I feel really grateful that I have the background that I have to be able to bring that to the table. And, although a lot of the clients that I see in my personal practice aren't in long distance relationships, I do help out a lot of people in the aviation department who are pilots and
Mm,
flight attendants, and ask me for personal advice and guidance in that. So
little coaching on the side during the job.
exactly, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, Nicole. Yeah, who else would like to share their personal experience or the type of clients that they find working with LDRs?
Hello, Nortland. This is Dominique, and I would like to share my personal experience. So, I actually like Nicole. Also, I'm thinking back to if I've ever had a long distance client before, and the answer is no. So, right. Yeah. Interesting. So, but I myself have been in a handful of long distance relationships. My husband and myself started off as long distance, and then he decided to move to me, and then he had to move away, and then we just dealt with long distance, and now he works as a firefighter. So it helped over the years because it made it, because firefighters just go and have shifts of like they're gone for 4 days or 3 weeks, or for some firefighters it's like months at a time.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's very interesting to navigate that. And I also, like you had asked Nicole, um, would I be able to navigate it as well? And the answer is no, not at all, because I think I'd be just lonely and wondering what to do with myself, quite honestly, if I was not a sex coach. But because I have all the tools, I feel like, and we're all very lucky here because we have tools on how to deal with long distance relationships, LDRs, and yeah, that's my experience.
And we're lucky, but our partners are lucky too.
Right. Right. Check.
Check. And Dion, do you have any experience personally or in your practice?
I have some clients who they're not in a long distance relationship, but they're reintegrating back after they had a long distance relationship, and then yeah, how to make it work right after they've been separated for so long, because there are a lot of dynamic that comes up afterwards. But personally, current experience, no. But when I was very, very, very young, many moons ago, I did have a long distance relationship, and this is before uh, the boom of internet. That's how old I am.
Whoa.
So we and remember, this is Indonesia back then, and so long distance call are so expensive, and it's not available as well. So you have to buy. So I remember my ex-boyfriend had to save up his pocket money and buy this calling card, because this special calling card that you can use to call abroad very cheaply versus normal call. And then I'll wait at certain time. So we've kind of he has to wait a certain time for his call on a normal phone line. And of course, there's a proper mail, letters.
Yeah, snail mail.
Yes, or postcards. So stuff like that. Yeah, so you just your introduction brings smile to me, just remembering all those all those efforts.
Yeah, I mean, that's our generation, like people who have gotten to experience the boom in ways we can communicate. It's hard to imagine um, how it was. You landlines, and you had to be somewhere a certain time, and then the anxiety spikes if you missed that window that you were going to talk with your long distance person. Very quickly you could end up in a spin out of the what ifs, and 9 times out of 10 it might be just logistical. And so some of that, though the communication mechanisms have changed, those patterns still exist, which we'll get to as we continue talking. And I wanted to pull out something that you said, Dion: reintegration. A lot of people don't think about that. People focus on the separation itself. They focus on the time before because anxiety is spiking, and maybe they're trying to set up the rules and boundaries they want to adhere to, or their expectations. And there's these rosy glasses over reintegration. People are just like, what? It's homecoming. I don't have to worry about anything. It's the honeymoon phase again. And that's kind of a benefit you can look at too. Be like, oh, I get to have all these mini honeymoon phases if you travel a lot. But the sneaky thing with reintegration is that it can be really intense. You may find yourself in arguments. It just can get really messy and unexpectedly because you're expecting pure joy. And that's why it can sting a little bit more. So thank you, Dion, for bringing that aspect up. Reintegration is a really important part of taking care of an LDR. So what are some of the other unique challenges that come up in LDR relationships? Yeah, would anyone like to jump in with one that comes to mind, a common pain point of an LDR?
Oh, actually, Dr. Norlin, when you mentioned about pain points and the ups and the lows, being apart, now I'm recalling it um, from from back then. Well, that was a long time ago. What I remember in patches, it's the distance was the fun part, the bittersweet part, especially nearing the time where, oh, we're gonna meet. So usually the distant part is the bittersweet part because you kind of like that longing. There's this element of sweet longing.
Mm.
Yeah, the and that can heighten the intimate experience. You know, you start talking about all the plan you're going to do together, and then when you meet, before you meet the person, you've done all the preparation. You know, you go to you've got a new haircut, new dress, all this exciting part that you don't get to do, and you do all the things that you wanted to do, like watch you go out for a movie and um, yeah, doing all this kind of thing. So that ups and lows, it's really real. That's what I remember.
At the same time, Dion, I would say that part of the complexities of a long distance relationship is that there is this, you can say things without the impunity of not having the responsibility to act upon them because you're not physically in the state where you're together. So there can be this opportunity for romance, and you say all these things, and you can wine and dine with your words, but if the person was right across the street from you, you would have to like actually say like, hey, I think you're really hot, I'm really into you, blah blah blah. But then you'd be like, okay, you live across the street, like what's happening? But when you're in a very far location, you can say all these wonderful flowery things, and there's like a lag between the actual responsibility of having to act upon them where you would in a relationship where you're physically next to each other. And and not saying that long distance relationships can't work, but that becomes kind of the balancing act when people are starting a long distance relationship of like, okay, you know, how can we navigate whether this is truly a relationship that would work and will continue to work when we're actually finally together, or are we just like throwing all these flowery wonderful things and we can say all these things because there's no actions specifically related to the relationship. And I mean, we're going to dive deeper into like how we navigate that, but I would say that that is one ping point that happens a lot in these relationships where they do grow and grow, and you need to start seeing the fruit eventually.
And something you're saying there makes me realize that there's like two types of long distance relationships. There's ones that start long distance and then eventually meet in person, and that the time between meeting online in a virtual space to meeting can vary widely. I've seen, especially in the video game community. There's lots of online portals and gaming romances that happen, and people might be really officially exclusively dating each other virtually for a long time before meeting. But then you have, I think what was on my mind primarily was, and in my work was, a IRL meeting first that has this component of repeated long distance or repeated travel, or maybe work has taken us to different parts of the world and it's not frequent travel. So it becomes 90% virtual. So yeah, there's these two different kinds. Where did we meet first? Makes a difference, I think. And there's different pressures too, going back to Nicole's point about the having to show up for your flowery words, essentially.
That goes for any relationship, though. Showing up, right? Being able to show up and follow through with what you say you're going to do. I think that's like a universal thing in relationships, whether you are in person or not, right? Yeah.
It just looks different.
Exactly.
The showing up looks different.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So what are some other like let's light touch some other common pain points? I have down like managing time zones and schedules. So couples could take it really, really high tech and have linked calendars, which has its joys and, I don't know, there could be some privacy concerns, but it also brings you closer to. So there's lots of tech out there and apps that help you manage your family long distance. And also, I think the big one that we can really spend some more talking about here is like how to close physical intimacy, or how to continue having physical intimacy when you're physically apart. So lots of gadgets that can help in this department. But before we go down the tech route, what comes up for you all when you're thinking about a client who really wants to stay connected sexually, but may have different values, let's say, on what that can look like?
I think when it comes to a long LDR, understanding and really communicating the boundaries of the relationship is super important, because there's going to be a lot more intimacy on social devices, whether it's phone, computer, explicit sharing of discussing things. So it needs to be discussed before you have like phone sex or anything where, you know, you're sharing your physical body with each other online. Like, hey, like, how are we going to be doing this? You know, do we want to be using a specific app? Like, are you okay with me sharing or saving saving like my dick pics or this or that? Like, how are we keeping our relationship in a place that feels safe for both people, and having that conversation before, you know, you're having sexual intimacy over a camera or on a phone or sharing pictures or whatnot.
And renegotiating along the way, having check-in points, because you can plan all you want, but then throughout the trip may start to feel differently about what was agreed upon, and knowing that that's okay to renegotiate.
Stay tuned for part 2 of this episode. Until then, send us some love by sharing, hitting subscribe, and leave a review. It really helps us connect to more incredible people like you. If you want to learn more about sex coaching or therapy, you can find us at sexandbreakfastpodcast.com, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at sexandbreakfastpodcast. The people helping us cook this all up are Michael Merle, creating our tasty tunes, dishing out our audio and video is Max Rainier, and our delectable visual designs by Brie Vilaubi.